Hello everyone, this is going to be an interesting project here. We're going to be putting together a piece of boulder, artificial rock boulder with these foam rock sheets. They're quite fun to work with, but very time consuming too at the same time. So these foam sheets or rock sheets can be purchased from different places. Um, and they come in a variety of sizes. I have broken down a bigger piece so I can work with them today. The first step, of course, is figuring out what you want to do and what shape and form of a rock scenery you want to build, and then put these pieces together in a way that you don't waste any of the smaller pieces of the rock, because it's a pretty expensive product and we'd better use it as best as we can. So as you can see here, I'm trying to figure out, I have something in my mind what I want to put together in terms of the scenery. This is going to be a perch for an eagle mount. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out which pieces should go together, and I break the sides of the bigger ones, trying to make them fit and mix and match. It's kind of like a puzzle work. It's kind of fun, and but at the same time, we're gonna need to have some sort of an idea of what a natural looking rock should look like, the anatomy, the outline of the rounder rock, and they all have basically some sort of a natural way. I mean, it's just not like you can put everything together and it's going to look like, yeah, the surface is going to look like rock, but if you don't really figure out what the entire shape is going to look like, then it might not look as natural as you want it to be. So the way I like to put these foams together is I use 2-inch brad nails to just hold them together, because it's quick and I can have the pieces side by side without really screwing or unscrewing too many times. So I like to put them together with 2-inch brad nail. These are pretty high density foams, and pretty strong. When you put the screw into them, it won't strip, so they really tighten up and cinch them up. You can cinch them up really good. So as you can see, the shape of the boulder is coming together fairly quick in the movie. Not so fairly quick when I was doing it. I edited a lot of videos out, so it's not boring for you to look at. So whatever you do, you're going to end up with a pile of gaps between these pieces that you put together, and then we'll take care of the gaps later. I like to use my brad nailer to keep them together, and eventually I usually use drywall screws is the best, but I was out, so I ended up using just regular wood screws, which worked perfectly fine too. But I think drywall screws hold them together much stronger and much nicer. And I don't necessarily go with screws everywhere. I just put the screws in the main parts that is holding the bigger pieces together. The smaller pieces can be just put together with brad nail, and you can just rely on it. Not a big deal. So I'm gonna let you watch, and then I'll jump in as soon as I feel that I need to explain anything. So when you see the bottom is hollow, we will figure out a piece of wood or a block of wood for the bottom of it. So it gives us the stability to put it into the mount or any base that we're working on. You can use a piece of plywood or a block of 2x4 or any kind of wood that you can screw from underneath. That should be, I used here a piece of 2x4. cutting it into size and then screwing it from the sides, and then we'll give it a go that way. Yeah, this is the first step, which is probably gonna take the longest time, or the most time consuming part of this whole process, is putting the rock together. And the second step would be taking care of the gaps. Okay, these spray foams are being used in the second step. You can get them from anywhere. There are different brands, and they all work pretty well. Basically put the nozzle on them and start filling up those gaps. This foam expands quite a bit, so make sure that you don't overdo it, because you're just going to waste your foam. Make sure to leave a little bit of room for the expansion to fill up those gaps. Kind of like a fun project. The only downside of these foams is that they're a little bit slow for curing for 100%. They take a few hours. The instruction says that if you spray it with water, it'll set much faster. I have to try it once. I don't know. I have never tried it. I just let them set by themselves in their regular time. Yeah, so you fill up the gaps and let them expand, and you will see what it's going to look like when we come back. And a few hours later, all of the foam that we sprayed, they have expanded, so we're going to carve them out and cut out the excess. Make sure that it leaves us a nice flat, or at least the same contour of the rock back in there, so we can cover it up after. See, there's a lot of rat nail holes or screw holes here and there that you might be able to spot them in the video, but if you look at them up close, there's a lot of them. And to covering them up and also smoothing out the surface of the carved foam, now we're gonna have to go into the step 3, which is using the compound. Mixing compound, which is made out of drywall, paper pulp, water, and acrylic paint. The reason I use acrylic paint is if you don't, it's going to be a white compound. I like to use some acrylic paint, some black, add it into the mix and mix it with my drill to make sure that I get the same, or at least closer color to the background of the whole rock scenery that I have, because it helps with painting it finally. So what we're doing, we're just with a putty knife, we're applying the whole paste or the compound on all of the areas that we had carved foam, and then we try to go as quick as possible in this part too. All the screw holes or rat nail holes that we talked about, you can use this compound to cover them all up. As you see, my compound is much darker gray than the rock itself, but keep in mind when it dries, it loses a little bit of a color, so it gets a little bit lighter. So it will eventually work out. Even if you just use it plain and use white, it will work out too. It just makes it a little bit tougher for painting because you always have two different base color to work with. I like to have the same base color to work with. Helps a little bit with a better result. So once we cover up all those gaps, or all the foams, the yellow foams that we carved, once we cover them all up with this compound, it's time to grab one of those foam brushes that you know which one I'm talking, these ones, and get a little jar of water and try to dab them and create the texture that try to create a texture that matches to the rest of the rock scenery. So basically when you look close, it blends in. And the reason I use this foam brush is that helps you. I've done it with towel and different things, but I find these foam brushes do the job. Like, I mean, with different techniques of dabbing or rubbing or brushing, you can very smooth it out and make the edges look like, you know, in one piece. Pretty smooth. And then when you're done, I like to put the fan on the project and leave it on there, because it will really take a long time for this compound to dry out. There we go. We put the fan on it, we keep it running, and I usually do this at the end of my workday so I can leave the fan blowing it dry till I come back tomorrow. It really takes about a day, or at least half a day, for the compound to fully dry. So once you find it dry, I get the matte clear coat spray and spray those areas that you put compound. And the reason for that is it gives it a nice coat that it doesn't soak up all the paint that you're going to spray on it. Now I make my little paint box, put the Lazy Susan, and get the rock in there. And what you have to do, just buy cheap grade, not high quality. You don't have to go spend a lot of money. Buy cheap grade acrylic paint from your local construction store or paint shop, and then water them down to the point that is quite watery, because that's the idea. And that we're gonna have to spray that whole rock many times. I didn't cover all the times that I was just going back and forth and spraying it in the video. But basically what you have to do, you have to spray your rock with those watered down acrylic paints to the point that they run down the rock and they mix and match. That's the whole idea. So after like 5 or 10 or 15 coats, till you get the desired color that you want, till you get that, by the time you're done with all of those coats, all the colors have blended into one another. You can give it more black base or brown base. This is the part that is totally up to you what you want to do. As you can see, I'm spraying dark. It's already running down and kind of like mixing and blending, and the whole thing goes into the crevices. And then I go with white, and then orange, and then green. There is literally any kind of colors that you can imagine. You can find them in rocks. There is no right or wrong. It's just a matter of what type of a color tint you like to have on your rock based on the animal that you want to mount and whatnot. So as you can see, every time that the screen is going to flip over, that's another like about 30 minutes between each coats. Right now, see, let me just see where it was. I just want to point out at the same time. So I'm putting more orange. It's running down, and sometimes you feel that you're wasting time, but you're really not, because painting is going to take time if you want to make it look like a real rock color, unless it's going to look like painted, and it's going to make it look artificial again. So this would be probably the first coat that I put in there. Put the fan on it. Now the screen flips. I'm gonna do another coat. So every time you see the screen is flipping, that's what I did. That's why I did it in the editing. That's another coat. So right now I'm putting some more, and some more green paint on it. And now here we go. Another 30 minutes go by and I'm coming to check out the color. I like to put some more colors into it. I'm putting a lot of white and then green over it. Make them all run into one another and blend. Some orange. And then we're gonna get ready for the next coat. Put the fan on, boom. 30 minutes later, we come back. But it seems like I'm quite satisfied right now with the color of the rock. And when you're satisfied, you get the matte spray coat again. The matte, not the shiny one. And then cover the whole thing. Cover the whole thing. Now the project is finished. When I worked it into the mount, it did look like this. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. They're coming every week. You never know when they're coming and how many they're coming and what projects are coming. Enjoy the rest of the pictures of the different projects and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Bye-bye.